Africa Today. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Nahaba Kajura, but first are the headlines. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni directs UNRA to award 6 road projects to Chinese companies. Now, judiciary assigned 32 judges to handle parliamentary election petitions. And the Ethiopian government supporters protest against Tigray rebels. And in our sports today, FIFA to announce new venue for Uganda Cup final. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. Africa Today starts with one of our top stories. Now, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has written to the Uganda National Roads Authority directing that 6 government projects should be awarded to 3 Chinese companies without undergoing the mandatory bidding process. Now, according to the 3 separate letters to the UNRA Executive Director Alan Kajina, the projects will be handled through a pre-financing model. Let's have more. In the letter, Museveni wants the Chinese company to handle the Chisubi Nakauka, Natete Nakauka, Kasanje Mpiji, Nakauka Mawugulu, Naziga Maya, Kasanje Buwaya, Nakasero Northern Bypass VVIP Road, and the reconstruction of the Pakwach, Karuma Road and the Karuma Bridge. In another letter, Museveni directed the construction of Kanoni Misinji Mitiana be awarded to Zongmei Engineering Group, whereas Chongqing International Construction Corporation will be in charge of the Kabwohe Chitagata, Rukunjiri and Misindye Kabimbiri, Zirobwe, Wobulenzi, Kapeka Road. The President has in the same vein directed UNRA to award the projects to construct Mpiji Chibibi, Mitiana Kanungu, Hamulwa and Butogota Buhoma to Ashoka Buildcom Limited, an Indian company. However, the directive by the President to UNRA means that the competitive bidding process that would allow the most efficient companies will be foregone for these specific projects. In the 4 separate letters, President Museveni says his decision is motivated by meetings he had with officials from the 4 companies. UNRA spokesperson Alan Sempebwa said the arrangement would allow the mentioned road projects kick off and the government pays the contractor later. Thank you so much, our reporter. Now moving on, the government of Uganda through NIRA has joined the rest of the world to celebrate birth registration as a means of creating awareness on the importance of the timely registration of vital events, particularly births and deaths. We have more on this report.
Addressing the press yesterday at the Uganda Media Center, Rosemary Kisembo, the National Identification Registration Authority Executive Director, said that birth registration is the first official record of every Ugandan in the country that acts as a basis of identification in the nation. Madam Rosemary further said that although they have challenges in service delivery, the organization is doing every effort to make the process simpler by involving the local council leadership. The African Civil Registration and Vital Statistics Day will be celebrated under the theme Leadership for Essential Service Building Resilient.
But still more importantly, birth registration is the first official record of the arrival of a child in the National Register. At home we celebrate birthdays, and it's good practice to celebrate birthdays. We in NIRA celebrate a birthday by registering a child and having an official record of them in the National Identification Register. This register is important from it is the basis of your identification as a person or a citizen in this nation. Our law mandates us, that's the Registration of Persons Act 2015, to register births that happen in the country, both for citizens and for aliens.
Civil registration and vital statistics systems in Africa that provide innovative, integrated and decentralized service for the post-COVID-19 period.
Acknowledge that we have challenges in service delivery across the country. We are making every effort to make this process simpler. In the recent months, we have asked LC1s to pick forms and bring the service closer to you, especially in the light of the pandemic, that we cannot gather crowds at our different offices. So we are asking, go to your LC, he will pick forms for us. When he has got all the documentation you need to verify that you're a citizen, you will have the opportunity to therefore call NIRA to help take the pictures of a smaller group of people in a field like you have during polling stations.
TV Africa News, Kachanchu Mtabazi reporting.
Thank you so much, our reporter. Now moving on, the Principal Judge, Dr. Flavian Zeija, has assigned 32 judges to handle 155 parliamentary and local council election petitions in the different high court circuits across the country. We have more.
Addressing the media today, the judiciary spokesperson, His Worship Jameson Karimani, said the hearing for the parliamentary election petitions will kick off on August 16th and the parties in the matters will be notified to appear at various courts by way of hearing notices.
In June, then we had the lockdown and we had to suspend the hearing of these election petitions. Now I am happy to mention that we have concluded with the arrangements to handle these petitions. We are going to begin on the 16th of August this year. The Honorable the Principal Judge was tasked by the Honorable Chief Justice in the guidelines which were released on the 3rd of August to put into effect an arrangement on how to begin the hearing of these petitions on the 16th of August. So the Honorable Principal Judge has assigned a total number of 32 judges who are supposed to expedite the hearing of 155 parliamentary and local council election petitions.
Over 32 judges to handle 155 parliamentary and local election petitions in the different high court circuits across the country.
So like I said, the hearing of the petitions will begin on the 16th of August across the country. We have 14 circuits as well as one division of the High Court which will be handling petitions from Kampala and Luweero. So the beginning will be for all across the country. We shall expect only the parties in these petitions, their advocates, any witnesses that may be summoned in the hearing of these petitions, as well as the media, be the people that will be accessing the areas where the petitions will be handled.
On 3rd August, the Chief Justice Alphonse Chigamoni Owiny-Dollo issued revised contingency measures and guidelines to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 during the hearing of the election petitions.
You're still watching Africa Today. Let's go for a quick break. We shall come back with the international news. Welcome back from the break. Moving on in our international news today, thousands of pro-government supporters in Ethiopia gathered in the capital Addis Ababa on Sunday to denounce rebels in the country's Tigray region. They rallied in Meskel Square in protest at what they see as foreign interference in Ethiopia's affairs. Let's have more of the story. The government has come in for strong international criticism over the conflict in Tigray, which broke out last November. One banner at the rally called on the United States to reconsider its stance towards Ethiopia. The deputy mayor of Addis Ababa, Adanej Abebe, told protesters that government had been chosen by the Ethiopian people and assured them that no one could force a puppet government on Ethiopia. The Tigray War has killed thousands of people and pushed the area to brink of famine. More than 60,000 people have also fled Tigray and taken refuge in Sudan. Ethiopia declared the ceasefire in late June during a stunning turn in the war as its military retreated from Tigray and the resurgent Tigray forces retook key towns and walked into the regional capital, Meleke, to cheers, where the United Nations and United States raised the alarm about the Ethiopian government's continuing near-complete blockade of the Tigray region and its 6 million people. The Tigray forces have vowed to rescue the region and pursue its enemies. Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now, amidst the landscape of rice fields in the Nile Delta, the farmers of Al Quramus have relied on papyrus for decades. Now, today, they are struggling to save their livelihood threatened by the scarcity of tourists. We have more.
In the 1970s, the farmers of this village located 80 kilometers northeast of Cairo reappropriated age-old agriculture and craft techniques that had almost disappeared. Since then, the majority of Egyptian papyrus production comes from the surrounding area in the governorate of Chakia, according to professionals in the sector. While papyrus was used in ancient Egypt as a medium for writing, paintings on the precious leaf from the plant are now a favorite souvenir for foreign visitors. The artists based in Al Quramus or Cairo have a wide range of subjects at their disposal: hieroglyphs, pharaohs, ancient gods and goddesses, Arabic calligraphy, or even landscapes. In 2020, tourists were just beginning to return to Egypt when the COVID-19 epidemic struck, once again affecting this crucial sector. The plant, which can reach 4 meters in height and grows with its feet in the water, is characterized by its fan-shaped foliage, famous for having inspired the capitals of the columns of many Egyptian temples.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now, moving on, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change warned on Monday that already greenhouse gas levels in the atmosphere are high enough to guarantee climate disruption for decades, if not centuries. This is already taking its toll on Malawi's second largest lake, Lake Chilwa.
Professor Sosten Chotha, Regional Director of Leadership of Environment and Development, said that climate change has introduced extremity in weather, resulting in less rainfall and abnormally low water levels in the lake. According to Professor Sosten Chotha, records show the lake has dried completely several times in the last 100 years according to the published literature. It was a cycle of 20 to 25 years. From the 1990s, the frequency of the drying has increased, and this is connected to the impacts of extreme weather events typical of climate change. On the hand, 500,000 people live in the areas of the Lake Chilwa Basin, which is one of the most densely populated areas in southern Africa. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report that generated shockwaves on Monday is the most detailed assessment of climate since ever undertaken, advancing our understanding of how fast greenhouse gas emissions are changing the planet. But experts caution that the comprehensive global view contains blind spots overlooking regions that are highly vulnerable to the impacts of the climate change, but where data on those impacts is severely lacking.
Now, moving on, one of the Nigerian schoolgirls kidnapped by Boko Haram militants more than 7 years ago is free and has been reunited with her family, according to a statement from the state governor's office. We have more.
Nearly 300 girls, most aged between 12 and 17, were abducted by Boko Haram in April 2014 from Chibok in northeastern Nigeria, sparking an international outcry and the Bring Back Our Girls campaign for their release. Over the years, many of the girls were released or found by the military, but more than 100 are still missing, Amnesty International said in April to mark the 7-year anniversary of the abduction. Borno State Governor Babagana Umara Zurum said in a statement that Ruth Ngaraja Pogu surrendered to the military last month along with the person she said she had married. The governor's office said she had surrendered to the military on July 28th, but officials had not announced the development earlier to give them time to contact her parents and other Chibok families. Nearly 1,000 people have been snatched in mass abductions since December, mostly in the country's northwestern and central states. Most have been released, but some are still missing, held after months in captivity.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now let's go for a quick break. We shall come back with the business news. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In a business news today, soaring food prices and economic hardship could sway this week's tightly contested Zambian presidential vote in favor of the opposition as citizens grapple with the fallout from rampant financial mismanagement. We have more.
President Edgar Lungu, who is vying for re-election in the August 12th poll, stands accused of borrowing unsustainably to splurge on infrastructure projects. The copper-rich Southern African nation last year became the first country on the continent to default on its debt in the coronavirus era. The value of the kwacha currency plummeted to record lows and inflation surged past 20% during Lungu's presidency, which also saw investor confidence decline as external debt ballooned to around $12 billion last year. Analysts have warned that economic troubles in the country, where more than half the population lived below the poverty line before the pandemic, do not bode well for a president who only eked out slim victories in previous polls. Analysts warn. Results of an Afrobarometer study published last month showed that poverty, hunger, and economic inequalities had worsened compared to 5 years ago. According to a survey at the end of May, 80% of Zambians considered the economic conditions bad.
Away from business, in Africa Today Health, Senegal's health services are overwhelmed as a third wave of COVID-19 spreads throughout the country. Now, since the beginning of the pandemic, Senegal's national SAMU, the emergency paramedic service, has been in charge of registering COVID-19 cases and organizing the regulation of patients, emergency doctors, and treatment centers. Take a look at the story.
Dr. Abdallah Wad, head of the SAMU regulation, said that they have had an influx of calls for respiratory distress and a few in the second wave. But since the beginning of the third wave, 90% of the calls are for respiratory distress. Now there are fewer and fewer hospital beds, and Samoa's emergency doctors are rushed off their feet, responding to the influx of suffering patients. One such patient, Binta Ba, 25, is pregnant and infected with COVID-19. Given her pregnancy and the state of her lungs, the Samoa considered her to be a high-risk case and transferred her to a level 3 hospital that is highly equipped and provides care for all medical specialties. Jibah Ba, Binta's father, said that he is angry at those who are spreading disinformation about COVID-19 and those who refuse to be vaccinated. Dr. Mohamed Lamine Dieng said that the current overflow of calls and patients and subsequent lack of beds is extremely difficult. He said that the main challenge for the regulation team is to find a place at the right time to save a person before they die.
In our sports news today, the Federation of Uganda Football Association has confirmed a new venue for the final of the 2020-2021 Stanbic Uganda Cup will be selected, changing from the initial one that had earlier been announced. We have more on this report.
FUFA Deputy CEO on Football Matters, Declas Hatal-Kiiza, reviewed the development on Monday during the draw for the semi-finals of the annual knockout tournament. Kiiza indicated that with the current situation in regard to COVID-19, FUFA thought it wise to get a new venue, changing from Masindi Municipal or Stadium. Kiiza added that with the fans not allowed in stadium, taking the final to Masindi would be worthless, and therefore promised to communicate a new venue at a later date. In the draw conducted on Monday, Uganda Premier League champions Express FC have been pitted against Bull FC, while Vipers Sports Club will face Police FC. Katande Chabasinga reporting for TV Africa.
Thank you so much, our reporter. Now, before we end our bulletin, let's have a recap of our top stories. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni directs UNRA to award 6 road projects to Chinese companies. Now, judiciary assigns 32 judges to handle parliamentary election petitions. And the Ethiopian government supporters protest against Tigray rebels. And in our sports today, FUFA to announce new venue for Uganda Cup final. Thank you so much for being a loyal audience from where we started from. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the right to know.